this lockdown as seriously as last time? And if they're not, why not? Is it worries about jobs, worries about paying their bills? All legitimate and understandable, I would say. But we've got a real problem in the capital. We've got this new infectious rate, this new infectious strain of COVID, and it's causing a particular problem in the capital. And there's a real problem in the east side, in the east part of London. Let's go to Josh, who's calling from Bexhill in East Sussex. Josh, I think you're a new caller.
I am indeed. How are you?
Very well. Yeah, I'm very well, and you're very welcome, Josh. What would you like to say?
Just that part of the reason I think that it's so much worse now is that, just back in April when lockdown was first in, estate agents and not out themselves, we was all closed. We couldn't do viewings, we couldn't do valuations, we were locked down properly. But now we can go to people's houses, we can do viewings, we can take people around, for a whole day viewings. You just think, well, if you can do that, why are we open when you can't go and see them?
That's interesting, Josh. And are you finding that people are happy to go into someone's home and look at it? Do they insist that the person in the home isn't there, or do they not make it until we stop the spread. We'll carry on with that conversation about what's going on in the capital, but we want to find out what's going on throughout the UK. Now, in Scotland, more people are in hospital with COVID-19 than there were at the peak in April. The country's also recorded its highest daily number of deaths since the start of the pandemic. LBC's Phil McDonald reports.
More people in Scotland are becoming gravely ill with COVID-19. Nicola Sturgeon started her daily briefing with a stark warning that our NHS is busier than it was during the first wave of the pandemic. She announced that 1,530 patients are currently in hospital with COVID-19, 102 people are in intensive care, and 93 people have lost their lives in the past 24 hours. The First Minister pleaded with people to stay at home and stick to the current lockdown. She then outlined further measures for international travellers arriving into Scotland. People will need to provide a negative COVID test result before heading into Scotland, although they will still need to quarantine if they're arriving from a country that isn't on the exemption list. Nicola Sturgeon said the changes, which will come into effect from the end of next week, shouldn't be required.
These restrictions on quarantine and testing really shouldn't apply to very many people, because nobody should be travelling to or from Scotland right now unless there is a genuinely essential purpose for that, and I cannot stress that key point enough.
Now, Police Scotland's Chief Constable appeared at the daily briefing to discuss the force's response to lockdowns. They've issued over 7,000 fines and made nearly 550 arrests for alleged breaches of coronavirus regulations. But the force is under pressure following allegations of threatening and aggressive behaviour after officers responded to reports of a house party in Aberdeen. A viral video circulating on social media appears to show a confrontation between officers and people inside a property, with a woman swearing at police and telling them to leave after one officer enters. Children can be heard screaming in the background. Chief Constable Ian Livingston says he's aware of the video and has urged people not to rush to conclusions after seeing the footage.
I've asked for a review of the full circumstances to be carried out, and I've been briefed on the full circumstances, and as things stand at this time, I'm satisfied about the legitimacy and the proportionality of the police response.
As a result of that incident, 3 people have been charged in connection with assaulting police officers and threatening and abusive behaviour. They'll be reported to the Procurator Fiscal.
That was Phil McDonald, LBC's reporter in Glasgow. We'll be getting the latest on what's happening in Northern Ireland too, which is also in lockdown. Text coming in from Rob in Sussex, who says this: if your job prevents you from working at home, or your employer prevents you from working at home, you have no choice but to commute. So no surprise the tube is busy. No one takes a tube ride during rush hour for fun. Rob, I understand that completely, and the fact is some people can't work from home, and they can't walk to work if they live 15, 20 miles away, and so what choice do they have unless the government is prepared to pick up the bill for even more people to stay at home and do nothing? And when we say the government, remember who the government is. It's the taxpayer, hard-pressed taxpayers. The debt already in this country is we're in the stratosphere now, and I do think we have to balance the effect on the economy as well. That always has to be a factor in what the government is doing, because we need taxes coming into the exchequer to pay for the NHS, which is now in a bad place because of the sheer numbers of people who are in hospital because of the new mutant variant of the COVID disease. Let's carry on with the calls. We'll go to Graham, who's calling from Croydon. Hello, Graham.
Hello, Andrew.
What do you think, Graham? Good evening.
First time caller.
Well, you're very welcome.
Thank you. I work in the car industry.
Yeah.
First time round in lockdown, we were closed down for everything,
Yeah.
apart from vital NHS staff, etc. This time round, completely different. Nothing has changed. It's like normal. I've got 50 to 60 staff. Everyone's at work. We're encouraging customers to come in. If somebody doesn't want to come in, I know of other businesses in the industry that have contacted them proactively and encouraged them to come in.
Really?
And you're talking about estate agents, the car industry. What other industries out there are doing the same? And we wonder why there's so many people out there.
Yeah, I passed a very smart chocolate shop in North London the other day. It was open. You could go in and buy a very expensive box of chocolates, or you could buy a nice chocolate drink. How is that an essential business?
Yeah, and this is the same. And it's about money. And I realise that the wheels have still got to turn. We've got to get money in, but it's people are genuinely scared. And
essential workers. I guess essential workers this time are saying they're going to work. They don't want the kids at home because perhaps they struggled with homeschooling. Graham, can't be easy.
But from a personal perspective, it's I would rather my children were not at school. I would rather I was not at work.
Yeah.
I would rather that we were doing what felt like the right thing.
Yeah. Do you feel why are you going to work then?
I don't have a choice. If I don't go to work, I don't get paid. It's not necessarily the money thing. It's more the job security thing.
Yeah. Okay. And when you're there, is it COVID safe?
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes. No, then that side of it is. But it's more the perspective of, when you're talking about you having 50, 30, 40, 50 complete strangers in your work area every single day, that's increased risk.
Right. And have you, in your family, Graham, in your circle of friends, do you know anyone who's had COVID?
Yes, and circle of friends, yes, I know someone who passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Mid-December.
Terrible, just before Christmas. There's never a good time, is there? Graham, stay safe, stay healthy. Who else is going to work because they have to? Job security, no choice. You don't want to go to work, but you feel if you don't, the job may not be there in 3 months' time, 4 months' time. It's not a dilemma, is it, if you've got 3 children to feed, or even just yourself to feed? If you're worried about your job, and you'll take the risk, won't you, because perhaps you're not at risk in the sense you're not vastly overweight, you haven't got diabetes, you're not in your 70s or 80s. I suspect it's not even a dilemma. I expect there's no choice. If you're worried about your job, you're going to go to work, and that might mean getting on a tube or a train or a bus. Do call if you're in that category. 0345 6060 973. This says, hello, I've just been to a supermarket in Walthamstow. It was not even 50-50. It was spot the face mark, even with the staff. That's from Ken in Ipswich. Shocking, Ken. You should have walked out of the supermarket or complained to the manager. Headlines now, because it's 6:45. Headlines with Thomas Watts.
The UK has recorded another 1,325 coronavirus deaths, the highest daily figure yet. In London, the mayor has declared a major incident because of the mounting pressure on critical care units. The government has warned exporters to expect significant post-Brexit disruption over the coming weeks. A clear and cold night for many, with heavy snow in northwest Scotland and a low of -6.
LBC Travel, I'm Katie Tyler. The M25 is closed clockwise between junction 24 for Potters Bar and junction 25 for Enfield because of an accident. There are queues on the approach from junction 23. At the North Circular Road, that's closed eastbound at the Kenninghall interchange because of an accident with queues from Palmer's Green. Elsewhere on the North Circular in New Southgate, it's struggling eastbound towards Station Road after a breakdown. And there are queues on the A13, that's eastbound heading towards the Wellington interchange. It's because of emergency repairs taking place.
This is LBC.
Global Player is the official LBC app. Download it from your app store now for free or go to globalplayer.com.
People living with dementia and their carers have been among the hardest hit by the coronavirus pandemic. At Alzheimer's Society, we're working tirelessly to provide support to those who need it most, but we need your help. This June, take on Trek 26, an epic trek through London with others who know just how tough dementia can be, taking in some of London's iconic sites. Sign up today, search Trek 26 and use the code RADIO for a discount this month.
Deep mud, sticky mud, splashy mud, muddy mud. Is that mud? Construction site mud mixed with cement and sand mud. Mud, glorious mud. If your business can't escape it, you'd better embrace it. The new Ford Transit Trail, built for the rough of it. All-wheel drive to get you through the thick of it. A bold Ford grille covered in it. The new all-wheel drive Ford Transit Trail. Get muddy at Ford.co.uk. We're with you on this journey. Ford Commercial Vehicles, backbone of Britain. Visit Ford.co.uk.
New all-wheel drive Transit Trail, part of the Trail range, which includes the Transit Custom with mechanical limited slip differential technology.
To help clean up London's air, the ultra-low emission zone is expanding from central London up to the North Circular and down to the South Circular roads. In October